Jorge writes in and he says, then why did Paul say we don't need to judge anyone that holds any day holier than other days? He said, stop passing judgment about this. He says, you're putting stumbling blocks on your brother. Now, Jorge references Romans 4:5-23. I'm 99.9% sure that he is actually trying to reference Romans 14. I think he left a 1 out on accident. And so that's what we're going to be responding to is Romans 14:5-23. Now, the last time that we covered this, which wasn't long ago, I actually think that we covered this, within the past 2 months.
I think it was last week.
No, it was a couple. Was it last week? We talked about whether or not we were going to cover this or not last week in our pre-show discussions,
okay.
but we did not actually cover this. So we'll just make this really quick. My father has done a wonderful commentary on the book of Romans. It's a 2-volume set. You can find it on TorahResource.com. You can get it in hard copy or in PDF. And he gives different ideas of what this could mean. I personally believe that this is a reference to various fast days. Throughout, Paul is not talking about holy days at all. What he's talking about are man-made traditions when it comes to food. He talks about food that is offered to idols in the markets, and this is most likely a blanket, either a blanket offering that is given in the market, or the meat is actually coming from, it's left over from pagan temples. And so he's discussing the fact that some believers abstain from this kind of meat and others don't, and what to do with believers who are offended by such meat. And then he goes to one day holds one day holier than the other. I believe that at this time he's actually still talking about food. There were multiple fast days each week for the various Jewish sects, and some of them held some fast days and some of them didn't, and I think that this is exactly what Paul is talking about. Now, people could go to other places as well. So, for instance, another place that is commonly referred to by those who believe that the Sabbath has been done away with is Colossians 2. I've written on that in my book, on my Colossians commentary, which you can find on pronomian.com. However, in terms of the Romans passage, I think it's quite clear that he's not talking about the Sabbath. He's talking about I think he's still talking about food. And so the notion that one person would say, you're doing something wrong because you're not fasting on this day, but the Bible has never told you, hey, don't fast on this day. This is what Paul is addressing. He's saying, these are man-made. One person holds one day holier than the other doesn't. How do we deal with this? And that's how I take the Romans 14 passage. Rob, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, there's a aspect of language, again, kind of back to our Jonah issue of how do you translate this verb? Is it destroyed? Is it overthrown? Is it just simply turned? Of course, we talked about that. I think turned is probably the best translation. And the issue in English translations, like, for example, I think you were just quoting now off the fly, but like who consider a day holy. So that what we need to do is we want to be precise as possible. And precisely, there is no word holy here. There is no adjective holy referring to the day. And where it says the word observe, in some English translations in Romans 14, it's not tereo, it's not the verbs used for keeping, guarding the Sabbath at all. It has to do with a mindful recognition of a day. And we also have to recognize that there is a scribal addition that pops in later that becomes part of the majority text that is reflected, for example, in the King James translation, which makes it sound like whoever does not, something, this is my memory of it, I could be a little bit off, but basically I believe the King James says something to the one who does not observe the day, to the Lord he does not observe it. The idea is then, now that I don't take that as original. I take that as a scribal addition that is trying to make sense of it. And then it's complicated by the fact that English translations take that to, observing a day. So they hotwire that to somewhere in the Bible where there's something about observing a day.
Right.
And the lowest hanging fruit is from the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And so this is the sad kind of false wiring or miswiring, hypertextualization in our minds of passages of scripture that really are not talking about each other, but through changes of, or scribal insertions and then sad, misleading interpretations into other languages create that. It seems like there's a bridge there. There's no bridge there.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.